Lovely to be out here with you, beautiful being. Oneness Evolving, standing on my front lawn and listening to the tui. I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to show you the world. The bird's up there somewhere in the kowhai tree. Let's zoom in a bit. See the yellow blossoms. Somewhere in there is a bird. But meanwhile, and if you wonder why I'm talking like this and showing you my garden, oh, look at that. Look at the shadow on the lawn. It's because this is a Facebook Live and it's got to propagate out around the internet and be picked up and shared out into some groups. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to show you the garden. Because it's spring and everything is happening here now. We have cineraria coming up everywhere. And of course the tui are singing. Excuse me. And the bluebells are just, well, they're a little bit past just starting, but they're really happening now. And you can see that next week when we do this again, hopefully the weather will be good and this will be an explosion of blue colour. So look at this. The granny's bonnet is coming up. In fact, this one is flowering. Let me show you the flowers. It's a little short one. You know, sometimes they're really long, but this one is short. They're all slightly different. They run to seed, and I mostly don't let them run to seed because I'd have an absolute nightmare of an invasion. And this is a relative of the granny's bonnet. It's the same family, but just much smaller plants and much smaller leaves, I beg your pardon. Much bigger plant, smaller leaves. And look, these violets that I transplanted are now happily flowering. And you just have to imagine the smell because it's beautiful. It's really lovely out here. This is my garden in spring. And it's the beauty of bulbs. You put them down, they come up every year, they multiply, they get more beautiful. Lovely to see you joining me. I can see some folks are on. If you say hi, drop me a comment, I will greet you because I enjoy doing that. For now, I am just loving showing you the flowers. Just waiting for everything to sort of happen so that the video gets out on the web, and meanwhile I can show you the roses are all coming away. And oh, look at the tree. I gotta zoom in again. Somewhere in there a tui is singing. The other thing that I'm really enjoying is the neighbour's maple tree. Beautiful foliage. And speaking of foliage, look at this. It's just all exploding away with lovely colours, and will be beautiful flowers soon. And look, the coriander is flowering. I love sharing all of this with you. Let me get closer so you can see the detail. Isn't that fabulous? And there's just purple cineraria and blue and every different shade everywhere. The other thing that's very exciting is the Spiraxis bed is starting to happen. Look at that. It's just all coming out. So if there's a peak season in my garden, this is it. And look, there's a bright red Spiraxis. But there are so many of them, and I've had to, you see, I've had to put some wood in here because there are lilies. And if I don't push the Spiraxis off the lilies, they get smothered and then they can't come up and they don't do well. And I want the best of both worlds. So thank you for joining me out here. I've got to show you more of these flowers. Can't walk right into the bed, that would make a mess, but let me do it this way. So this is all happening. It's just, oh, the colours are beautiful. Everything's fresh and bright. It really rained yesterday. So there's just a lot happening here. And I nearly forgot to show you the magnolia. So I'll just walk back here and do that because this is on its way to being amazing. Got the sun in our eyes. But see, the flowers are all coming out now. It's beautiful. And look at the wonderful twisted shapes of the branches. I pruned them that way. I really did. I made an effort. But it's a beautiful thing, and I love it when it comes out. And the other thing I have to show you is, look, the cherry tree is nearly flowering now. Very exciting time in my garden. So, with that, I'm going to go back inside and tell you what I've been writing about this morning. Frankly, my mind is blown. I have just astronomical numbers, literally astronomical numbers, but we're talking about the structure of matter and why that has something to do with manifestation, because believe me, it does. So I've got my little list of songs. I'm going to sit down and put my feet up and tell you what I've been writing about. Because you might think, oh, really? What's it got to do with anything? You know, very small pieces of matter. What's that got to do with manifestation? What's that got to do with me? Why should I care? This is me getting organised. So, I have my list of songs. Just going to get... All right. So, the reason why I care and why I think many of us should care, what is matter made of? I mean, really, what is matter made of? We use matter for everything, right? You know, I mean, this is matter. My body's made of matter. The stuff on my hand is made of matter. The phone that I'm speaking to you on is matter. The earth is made of matter. The stars, everything, matter. All these different versions of matter. But what actually is it? And you might say to me, well, atoms, yeah, most of us are familiar with atoms. But when you look at an atom, and this is 100 years old now, it's understood that when you actually look at an atom, it's mostly empty space. Really. You want to understand about that? Listen to my rave last week, because I talked about that last week, and I've got such other, I mean, my mind is blown. My brain is kind of, about what I'm just going to try to tell you. So it's mostly space. If an atom is mostly space, and it is, it's really just this teeny tiny little piece of matter right in the middle of something huge, a big area, and there's electrostatic charge. Really, it's just a bunch of electromagnetism and vibration and oscillation. There's nothing really real about an atom. So what the hell is all this stuff that we call matter and that we think is so real? And we think, oh, my body's sick and I can't heal it with my mind, or I need some money, or I need something, I need some food, I need something, and I don't have enough resource to get it. And why can't we master matter with our mind? Because we all have this feeling that we should be able to do it somehow. So what's the deal with that? What are we missing, really? And, you know, is there another option? Really? And I don't mean positive thinking, although positive thinking is very great. I mean, really, is there anything that science can actually tell me that means something to me that I can use in my manifestation? That's really what I'm interested in answering. Firstly, for myself, because I don't want to talk to you about anything that I'm not actually living. What's the point? Then it's just theory. So freaking what? It needs to be real. So the first thing I did, because I know last week I talked about the atom, and this week what I wrote about, I got back to the bit that I wrote first, and then realised, oh my God, I have to introduce this. It'll make no sense at all. I wanted to introduce you to this weird and wonderful thing called the Planck spherical unit. Now, don't tune out just because you hear something and think, what the hell is that? We're just going to call it PSU. And you can imagine a spinning sphere. Or it's actually a torus. If you know what a torus is, like if you pull the plug out of a basin full of water, and you pull the plug out, and that spins, and that's like it's a funnel, right? That's a vortex. But a torus has got a vortex in and a vortex out, and then the energy actually goes around. It's an electromagnetic energy field. It's something else you might see, the field that a magnet makes. It's also the same shape when you take an apple and you cut it in half. That's a toroid. Same shape that you see in a spiral galaxy. It's everywhere. Toroids and toruses are everywhere. So a little PSU is one of those. Surprise, surprise. That shape is everywhere, right? But how big is it? How the hell do you talk about it? It's so small. So I was thinking, okay, we've said, and I looked it up, how big is a proton? Because a proton is one of the particles that you find in the nucleus of an atom. Okay, how big's that? Well, it's 0.1 of a nanometer. What the hell is a nanometer? So nano, I looked it up, means billionth. Okay, so you have thousands, millions. Sorry, nano means trillionth. I've got to look this up. I wrote it down. Is it a million or is it a billion? It's a billion. God. See, this stuff still confuses me. Yeah, it's a billionth. So a nanometer is 1/billionth of a meter. And you think, well, how big is that? Okay, imagine a pin, right? A pin where the head is 1 millimeter across. Most people know what a millimeter is. It's a tiny, it's like that. So imagine a pin with a head that's 1 millimeter across. Now, imagine 1 million angels standing shoulder to shoulder in a line across that pinhead. They are really small angels, 1 million of them, and they fit from one side of the pinhead to the other. So each one of those angels is 1 nanometer wide. And then, because the proton is 0.1 of a nanometer, there's 10 of those, like in the space, from one side of the angel to the other, from the side of its wingtip to the other side of its wingtip, 10 protons will fit from there to there. So they're pretty darn small, right? Okay, and so last week I talked about the example where if you have an atom and you imagine the dome of the basilica in Rome. It's big, it's 42 meters across. And the atom is that big. And if you just have 1 grain of sand, then that's a proton. So in your mind, I want you to now substitute for that grain of sand that's a proton, still a grain of sand, but it's a spinning toroid, it's a Planck spherical unit, whatever the hell that is. And now put that tiny little PSU, that's the size of a grain of sand, down on the floor of the balcony, walk down the stairs, walk out to Rome, pick up your phone and send messages to all your friends and say that you're going away for a few years. Get on a spaceship. Take off. Point your spaceship towards Alpha Centauri and fly at light speed for 4 years and 133 days. Okay? Very fast for a long time. When you get to Alpha Centauri and you're in orbit around the star, you don't want to be too close so you get too hot, you've travelled 41.2 trillion kilometres. Very long way. And you might, by that stage, be thinking, what the hell am I doing out here? And why did oneness send me all the way out here for 4 years and 133 days at light speed? All of that distance between that tiny little grain of sand rotating sphere that you left on the balcony of the basilica, between there and where you are at Alpha Centauri, the 41.2 trillion kilometres, that is how wide the proton is now by comparison to the Planck spherical unit. It's mind-bending. It's crazy. It's insane. It's so big and so small, right? And then I had a thought which kind of has melted my brain. I thought, okay, so if the Planck is like this and the proton is from here to Alpha Centauri, how big is the dome of the basilica now? That's our atom, right? We have a Planck, we have a proton. How big's the electron? How big's the atom? Planck, proton, atom. Okay. So I did some, because I remembered roughly, I think that the atom is 100,000 times as big as the proton, but it might be as big as the nucleus, and I've got to check that out because I don't know, I don't remember. But I multiplied the numbers and I thought I'd got an extra 0. I think if I've got this even remotely right, that the dome of the basilica is now at least 4 times the size of the Milky Way. It's huge. It's crazy numbers. And these are just the tiny pieces of, the tiny piece of matter. The Planck is the grain of sand. The proton is from here to Alpha Centauri. And then 4.3 or maybe more, because I don't know if I've got the right numbers yet, is the size of how big the atom is, and the atom is mostly space. So what's in that space? But my brain is kind of melting because the numbers are so big. So I did that, right? And then I thought, okay, whoopee, that's fun, sexy numbers. And why would anybody care, apart from the fact that that's kind of interesting? What's it got to do with manifestation? And this, at the moment, is where I still run into trouble, because there's a lot of things that I'm experiencing in my meditation work that I do. I do Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditation work every day, and it's amazing, because all of this information, because I'm literally interacting with the place where those Planck spherical units are in my meditation. And I've got to explain all of these connections for you the way that I understand them. But these tiny pieces of matter contain an enormous amount of energy, mind-blowing amount of energy, just in one, never mind in, whatever. It's just stupendous amounts of energy. And if all of the space that isn't the proton and isn't the all of the things that aren't the proton, all of that space is full of something and it's full of energy, can I learn to use that with my mind, because it's frequency, it's information, it's vibration, and it's more me than what the matter is, because the matter's so much hardly ever there. There's just not much matter to matter. It's just these electrostatic charges that hold everything together, and we bump into it and we think it's real. But if instead of me being this solid stuff that you see and you listen to and you experience yourself because you're in a body, what if, and this is what the physics actually tells us, but it's mind-bending, and this is also why my mind's bending, because I had a huge explosion in my awareness this morning in my meditation. I mean, it's nothing I haven't heard before, but it suddenly became real to me. What if, it's what the physicists Einstein and not just him, there were others, they were talking about it. And it's not that I'm a matter and then there's space around me. It's actually that space gets somehow extended into matter. And I was thinking, what the hell does that mean? An object is an extension of space. What are you blithering on about? And then I remembered what I've heard lots of people say, that gravity isn't produced by the fact that, the Earth does not produce its gravity. It's more like it's more like, because space-time, because we think that Earth is there and it alters the fabric of space-time. But actually space-time alters and the Earth is there. It's the other way around. It's the stuff that's in the space that we can't see, that 99.9999999 nothing. That's where all of this comes from. But more than that, what I'm starting to realize and can barely articulate, and I know this is messy and, I'm not making a lot of sense because I haven't written it all down yet. But what I understand now is that perhaps I am a huge spinning torus of this sea of energy that is the 99.9999999% of everything that I can't see. And maybe I'm more that than this. And it's that thing that's spinning, that's altering the fabric of space-time, which means that I've got a body and not the other way around. And so there's a whole chunk of stuff in there that I can't yet explain to you because I haven't researched it and worked it out. But I can feel the truth of this because I do stuff in that space in my meditations, and I'm different afterwards. And more than that, my life is changing. As little incremental steps. I'm not going to say that I've figured this out. But there is a connection between this crazy stuff that's so small that we think, oh, that can't be anything. But it is. And the fact that we are more that than this. We just think we're this. And it's not just a philosophical change of, oh, well, now I know, okay. It's a deeper change than that to be able to use this, however it is. But there's something in here, I can feel it. I have a truthometer in here, and I know that in my learning, in my research, in my writing, and explaining things for you, and in the practical application of making my brain coherent and making my heart coherent and making myself coherent with that huge sea of energy and realizing that I am that, not this, there's something in that. Because I see my life changing and I know I'm manifesting change. So this is definitely a journey. I don't have all the answers worked out. I'm learning as I go along and I'm sharing it with you. That's God of me. I want to be God of me. I want to be God of you. You be God of you. That's what this project is about. I want to give people the tools to do that. And I'm learning it and figuring out as I go along. And isn't that the way anything happens? So thank you for joining in with me. I have so enjoyed sharing the fact that my mind has been blown this morning with you. I hope some of it made sense. And I look forward to explaining more of it more sensibly as time goes by. But for now, we are well and truly down a rabbit hole. So I hope you enjoy being bemused and puzzled. And if you've got questions, please ask. And if you wish, check me out on Patreon because there is more there and much more to come. So until next week, big love. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.